Alright pilots, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to be back in our A-10a model Warthog. First video we got into startup of the aircraft, taxiing around, taking off, flying around, and landing, which is probably one of the most important things you can do in any plane, right? Because you got to survive. But tonight we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. When you're in a Warthog, your main goal is close air support. Getting warheads on foreheads. Helping your people on the ground survive the fight, pushing the enemy back. Dropping bombs and dropping ordnance is one of the most important things you can do in an A-10, and that's what we're going to get into tonight. So, for starters, let's jump into the cockpit. Let's bring up our armament, and we'll go through that. So, right here we've got an ECM pod, which is your electronic countermeasure pod. And then on the other side we have two AIM-9 sidewinders. So that's for air defense in case we do get attacked by a target in the air. We will at least have two heaters to defend ourselves with. After that we got CBU-97s, which is a cluster munition. It is a parachute munition where it parachutes down after you drop it. And when it gets close, all the clusters will spin open and fire skeets out. 4 skeets per parachute. They spin up, they find targets on the ground, and then they shoot a highly armor-penetrating shape charge into those targets. So it's good at blowing up just about everything, especially if it's caravans or stuff that's pretty tightly packed in there. Throwing a CBU-97 in there can just pretty much wipe out most of them. After that, we got triple racks of Mark 82s, which are 500-pound slick iron bombs. They're just dumb bombs. You drop them with CCIP or CCRP, and we'll get into that later. After that, we have Mark 20 Rockeyes. So they are basically like the CBU 80. It's 82 or 87. Let's just have a look just to make sure. So the CBU 87. So the 97 has the parachute skeets, the target-seeking skeets. The 87 just drops heat bomblets. So heat bomblets are basically like little grenades, and they're not very good at penetrating armor. They can damage a truck, but not very well. But they're really good at damaging open-top vehicles, extremely light trucks, mainly infantry positions, gun emplacements, stuff like that that's open-topped and not armored. That's where your 87s and your Rockeyes, the Mark 20 Rockeye is just the older version of what became a CBU 87 later on. So we're going to go ahead and do the Rockeyes. After that, we've got a couple of Mark 84s, and these are very large, 2,000-pound slick iron bombs. And we'll take a look so you can see what all this stuff looks like. Here's your ECM pod. This is a CBU-97. This is a triple rack of your Mark 82s. That is a Rockeye, and then the big one down the middle here, that is your Mark 84 2,000-pounder. Now let's get into the keybinds that we're going to need to drop these bombs. Now you've already got your keybinds set up with your flaps, your gear, your throttles, all that stuff you need to take off and land. We're not going to go through that again. We're just going to start with weapons deployment now. So first off, you're going to need your 3 modes. If you look up category modes, you'll see navigation, longitude missile aiming, and air to ground. So you want to have all 3 of those bound. Another one you're going to need is CCRP steering mode. That's an important one you're going to need for when you're going to drop your bombs with CCRP mode. Another one you're going to need is lock and unlock, which is under your sensors. You're also going to need countermeasure release. Now it's also got releasing just chaff or just flare. But I'm going to recommend for now just bind your countermeasure release as a single button. That way when you depress the button, a chaff and a flare will release. Later on in a more advanced tutorials, you'll learn more about which missiles and what chaff and flare actually does. But for now, just bind this button that'll be your countermeasure button, and that's all you'll need to know for now. Next, you'll have a button called Cannon, and that, we're not going to use the cannon tonight, but just go ahead and get it bound up. You're going to want to use it eventually. It is the bread and butter of the A-10 Warthog. Okay, you're going to need the weapon release button. This is your pickle button. This is what you're going to use to drop ordnance. It's also going to be what you use to fire your air-to-ground missiles. Basically, everything that's not the GAU-8 cannon is going to release with the pickle button, which is the weapon release. And of course, your weapon fire is your trigger, and that is what is used for the GAU-8 Avenger cannon. You also got to remember, you also have your air brake. You might use an air brake if you need to slow down to either drop a bomb or to shoot your gun to have better aim. ECM, you're going to want to have this bound, so after you get your plane started up, you can turn your ECM on. You're also going to need your weapon change button. So once you go into air-to-ground mode, the weapon change mode will be what you hit to select and cycle through your equipped weapons. Alright, now that that is all done, we are just about ready to go ahead and get up in the air. Now, just to go through a couple of things before we are ready to get in the air, we are going to be dropping bombs. And for starters, we're going to use CCIP. That stands for Continuously Calculated Impact Point, otherwise known as dive bombing. So when we're using CCIP, we're going to select our bombs, get our symbology on the HUD, and then we're going to dive down at a fairly steep angle towards our target. And when we get within range of that target, the computer is going to change the symbology on the HUD to show us where our bombs are gonna land if we drop the bomb at that exact time. And we will use that guidance on the HUD to aim our bombs and drop them onto the targets. CCRP mode is different. That's where we're going to take the cursor that's on the HUD and we're going to use our TDC slew buttons to move it around. And then we're going to use our lock button when we get a spot on the ground where we want the bombs to drop. And we're going to lock that and change the symbology on the HUD to a square. Once that's done, we will hit our CCRP steering button, and that's going to change the symbology on the HUD to give us a steering line. And then we're just going to follow that line, and when we get to the drop-off point for the bombs will automatically drop in CCRP mode. And when we're doing this later on, I will pause the screen to go through the symbology on the HUD so it's very easy to understand. Alright, we look like we're just about ready to go, so pilots, let's start up our A-10s, let's taxi to the runway, and let's get up in the air, and I will see you up there, and because of editing magic, we will get up there right away. Alright, pilots, here we are up in the air, we are ready to go. Now, I wanted to show you the ECM really quick so you know what it looks like. So you started up your plane, you're all good to go. Now you turn on your ECM, and if you look down here to your right, underneath all your warning lights here, this is your ECM. If you turn it on, you will see that it will start blinking the T's. Now that tells you that it's booting up. When these T's become solid, that means your ECM is running. That's all you got to do in the A model. Just leave it running. It's going to do its best to try to help you not get locked up as quick, not be able to hold a lock on you. And that's about it. It's basically a white noise machine. It's not going to make you immune to missiles or anything like that, but it's better to have it than not have it at all. Especially with ground targets. It'll make SAMs and AAA guns that use gun solutions with radar a little bit harder to get a good solid lock on you. So it's always good just to have it. Alright, now if that's out of the way, we're also going to talk about the bombs now. If you look down here, this is your weapons stations. You can see it shows your pylons here. You don't really got to worry about this stuff, but that's what it is. Now here's this middle knob right here, which is your release mode. It defaults to pairs. What that means is if I select my two Mark 84s that are on the middle, if I hit the pickle button, it's going to drop a pair of them. So I have two, it's going to drop two. If I had my Mark 82s selected, when I hit the pickle button, it's going to drop one off each pylon. So that's what the pairs is going to do. So if we have pairs selected, it's going to drop both CBUs at once. It's going to drop both Mark 84s at once. so on and so forth. And if you look down here, there's a quantity down here, and it says 0, 2. So like I said, by default, everything's going to drop 2. If you only have 1, it's going to drop the 1, but it's always going to attempt to drop a pair of whatever it is you have selected. So you're going to want to bind the weapon release and the quantity selection. So here's our weapon release. It's PRS SGL release sub-mode cycle. You want to have that bound so you can cycle through those modes. And then you're going to want ripple quantity, which is the other one. And you can also set up ripple interval increase and decrease. We're not going to get into that tonight. We're not going to do any kind of detailed ripple bombing. We're just going to show you how to drop bombs. Pretty simple, that way you can get started. These are beginner guides. We're not going to get that deep into the weeds. But you'll want to have at least your pairs and singles and your quantity. And I'll show you why right now. So instead of dropping pairs, what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to hit our button. Hit it again, it goes into ripple single. Hit it again, it goes to ripple pairs. And one more time, it goes to single. Now we're going to come over here and let's hit our ripple quantity and cycle it all the way up till it hits 12, and then one more time so it goes back to 1. So what that does now is every time we hit the pickle button, we are going to drop 1 piece of ordnance. No matter what's selected, 1's going to drop. If we have our Mark 82 triple racks that have 6 total bombs, if we hit the button once, 1 bomb drops. If we hit it again, another one's going to drop. So we can ripple it by hand by just hitting the button over and over and over again. And that's what we're going to learn how to do today. We're not going to set up any complicated ripples. We're not going to set up intervals. We're just going to drop a bomb every time we hit the button. And that's the best way to learn, in my opinion, and that's what we're going to do today. And that's all we're going to have to do here now. We're going to leave it on single and single. Now, we are actively paused right now, so we can take our time. So this is us in navigation mode. You can see our altitude right here. You can see our heading rows, which is the 360 degrees. So we're heading at 291 basically. And this is our indicated airspeed, 201 knots. Here's our flight path, of course. This is where we're headed, so we know we're going about 6 degrees up angle. Now, we're going to switch to air-to-air mode, and that's going to give us our gun funnel for air-to-air and our heat seeker symbology right here. So if you were to try to lock somebody up, we'll get into that later when we're going to that. So let's go ahead and cycle to air to ground now. So now we're in air to ground mode, and everything is the same as it was before, except now we can see what weapon we have selected. So this says CBU 97, and we have 2 of them. So that's our clusters, and we got 2 of them. Those are the ones that are out here on the outer. And if you look down here, it also shows you on your weapon station. Now this is the drop line. You notice how it's segmented, and that's because it's not ready to drop. It does not have any kind of a shooting solution. It's just showing where the line is for the drop. Now at the top, you will notice there is this circle right here. This is your CCRP pipper. So if we grab our TDC slew, we can start moving this around. So if we were going to drop a bomb on the ground now, we could just say, like, see that building right? Well, we can't do it because of the angle we're at, but we'll get into that when we do CCRP. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But that is the CCRP pipper. Our first drops are going to be CCIP, so we're not going to worry about that pipper. We're going to leave it right up there. It is where it defaults. Now we're in air to ground mode. Let's go ahead and select weapons and switch. So now, Mark 82, and you can see we have 6 of them. You can look at your station and see, there we go, now they're on the next interstation. Now if you look right here, you can see our next pylons. We'll go ahead and select again. Now it says Mark 20, which is our rock eyes. We've got 2 of them, and there you go again. And now these big ones here, this is your fuselage. So that's your inners. We'll select again, that's our Mark 84s. We have 2 of them, and there you go. So that's what all that means. That's what it looks like, and you can just cycle through all your weapons right there. And depending on the weapon you select, the symbology on the hood will change for that weapon automatically. But everything we're dropping today are just bombs, and they're all bombs that drop through CCIP or CCRP, so our symbology is going to stay the same for all of them, which makes it real simple. You just got to make sure you realize and know which bomb you have selected. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to select our Mark 82s, and if we look over here out our window, we can see right down here there is a caravan of trucks. So when we unpause this, we're going to roll over and we're going to get lined up with that road and those trucks. And when we get closer, we're going to nose down and we're going to maintain this line across those trucks. And when we get close enough, the segmented line is going to go solid, and it's going to have a solid round circle at the bottom of that line. That circle is where your bombs are going to impact. That's the continuously calculated impact point. So we're going to fly across those trucks, and we're going to hit that pickle button 6 times to drop all 6 of our Mark 82s across that line of trucks. When I unpause, we're just going to do all that. Piece of cake, nice and simple. And here we go. Active pause is off. We have control of our plane again, so let's just go ahead and roll over. Nice and easy, no big movements. Remember, when you're flying any kind of a plane, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So now we're just going to cruise forward. Now normally you'd roll in from the side, that way you can get a good look on it. So you'd have your vehicles off to the left of the nose here, and then you'd roll into them. But this time we're just going to nose down. Keep it nice and simple so we can spot our targets. There they are. Turn the plane a little bit. Keep going down. I'm going to go ahead and ease off the throttle now. And we're going to keep slowly pushing the nose down because we want our angle to get a little bit greater. A little bit greater. We're probably good here. We're close to 25 degrees down. Now the pipper is solid. Now you see that circle and it's moving forward. So here we go. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Shoot.
Now we're going to pull up.
Shoot.
Roll over so we can see our work. And there you go. 6 Mark 82s right across that line of trucks. Piece of cake. It's not hard at all. Now we select weapons again. We got our CBUs. We can select them again. And now you see we have our Mark 82s again. We have 6 of them. And that's because I'm practicing. I'm doing a video for you everybody. I recommend doing this when you're learning how to use a system or learning weapons deployment on a new plane. Go into your options and turn on unlimited weapons, and they'll respawn on the plane while you're in flight. You can see we have a full load again. And that's so you can just keep on dropping bombs, so you don't have to keep going back and landing, rearming, and taking off again. Although I would also recommend doing it that way for the realism and to practice taking off and landing over and over. It's always a good thing. But tonight we've got unlimited ammo on, so we can just keep dropping bombs if we need to. So this time, let's approach these trucks like we didn't know they were right there, and let's approach them from the side, like I said before. We know those trucks were there, we knew to nose over, but you can do it that way. But most of the time, you're going to do it by looking out your window to the side, spotting your targets and rolling into them. So down there you can see that smoke. We're just going to drop bombs on the same spot again. We're just going to approach it a little bit differently. I'm going to keep them right in here, in the crutch of the cockpit here, in between the console and the rib of the window. And here's what we're going to do. We're just going to roll over and invert, and we're going to get our glass on the target. I'm going to kill the engine. And now we're going to roll over using the top of the glass to keep our mark. And now we're going to slowly pull up a little bit until we've got our symbology. Now we've got it. We're ready to drop.
Shoot. Shoot.
And there we go.
Shoot.
All bombs are away. We hit the throttle again. And there we go. Right down the row again. And that's a normal roll in to get to your target. Because you want to be able to see the target, right? You see the target over there, you keep it on the side so you can keep an eye on it, and then you know when to roll into it. You roll and you invert and you get your target at the top of your glass here, and then you roll back upward into the target, and that'll keep you in line with your target. It's just good, a good thing, a good habit to get into, to rolling into a target. That way you don't get all wonky and start trying to use your rudders to get back online. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch around and let's drop our CBU 97s, and let's do these CCRP because they are a cluster munition. And they're not, they detonate in the air to release those parachutes with all those skeets. And it's much better to CCRP drop these cluster munitions than CCIP them. You can CCIP them, but I would just recommend being a little bit higher and dropping them from a bit higher altitude because of the way they work.
334, 419 at 2000 cold.
And let's just drop them on the same spot. Those trucks are already plenty dead, but that's okay. We're just demonstrating how to get this done. So we know we're going to drop them CCRP. We know what we're going to do. We know that they're over there. So let's just start moving our CCRP mark down. Mainly because it is kind of slow moving, if you see. Let's just get it into a good position before we even turn around and get it ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that pipper right on the first, well, because it's a cluster, I'm gonna aim it roughly in the middle of them, maybe the first quarter of them. And then I'm going to mark that by hitting the lock button, which we can lock right now just so you can see it. Like if that set of trees was where we're going to drop, that's what the lock looks like. You can hit lock again to unlock. You don't hit unlock to lock, you just hit lock again. Alright, let's turn around and let's get lined up on those caravan. And let's get our CCRP mark where we want it. And I'm trying to get lined up with them so that my bombs are going to drop right down the line again. Always a good practice. You don't want to drop from the flank if you're trying to get all of them. And I am going to drop both these bombs. The first one's going to drop automatically, and when it drops, I am just going to pickle the second one from right where we are. Alright, so we can see the smoke right there, so let's just get this. We don't have to be perfect. So there we go. Now I'm going to hit my CCRP steering mode, okay? And now that switched it to here. So you see this square at the top, that's your bomb counter, this is your pipper. So now you're just going to want to stay level and steer to keep that box on the top in line with the drop line. Try not to gain altitude or lose altitude, just try to fly nice and level. Use your ailerons to just roll and try to keep it exactly where you want it to be. When we get close, that box is going to start moving down. When the box gets inside the circle, it'll automatically drop the bomb. You don't have to pickle it. But I'm going to pickle the second one to make sure we get both bombs off, because we're set up on single-single. We're not on pairs. So here we go. Pretty good. It's a little off, but that's okay. Let it go.
Shoot.
And I pickle the second one.
Shoot. Shoot.
Alright, and let's see what happened. Now these are going to pop all on their own, and those skeets are going to release. Just like that. Now each one of these parachutes has 4 skeets, and each skeet is a penetrating shape charge. Now, they would seek out and shoot the trucks. Those trucks are already shacked out, so they're just going to go off now. But you can see the devastation of a cluster munition. And of course, they do seek the targets, so they wouldn't be quite as all over the place as they are now. They're all over the place right now because they're trying to go as far away as they can because they don't see any targets because there's nothing there. But that is a CCRP drop. Alright, so let's look right up here and just one more time. Let's do a CCRP drop this time. And let's do it like we're out in the wild. It's a battlefield, we're looking for targets, we see something. And there we go. You see them on the road there? Whole line of them. We don't know what they are, we just know they're not ours and they're bad. So let's go ahead and drop our Mark 84s. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a CCRP. And we're going to do it as singles and singles, the way it was before. So the first one is going to drop itself, and then I'm going to wait about half a second and drop the next one. We're going to kind of manually ripple it. And hopefully we'll get at least a few of these trucks with this big drop. In a wartime situation, if it was a caravan and we're trying to disrupt them, the first bombs that you drop are going to push them off the road and they're going to disperse. So these two Mark 84s are going to do a lot of damage, and they're also going to disperse them. And then we can come back around and pick them off. You don't always have to try to drop all your bombs on each drop. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend not doing that unless it's you need all the bombs to hit on a factory or something like that. Alright, so let's start moving that pipper as we're turning in. That way we don't have to scramble to try to get our CCRP set up. Alright, that looks pretty good right there. And now we're going to hit our CCRP steering mode, just like so. And we're just going to hold that box right on that fall line. And do our very, very best to keep that box lined up. Now I'm actually going to move a little bit to the right and let the box come to a little bit to the left of the fall line, because my mark on the ground was a little bit to the left. So we're going to do that manually when it drops.
Shoot.
And the second one
Shoot.
drops. So that was
Shoot.
about half a second
Shoot.
before I manually pickled the second one. Alright, let's do an active pause so we can just watch this. Kaboom, kaboom, look at that. Nice hits, right? So there you go, CCIP, CCRP. Just your meat and potatoes getting warheads on foreheads. Pretty simple. The more you do it, the more accurate you're going to get. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be in the pilot's chair, and the more comfortable you are, the better you'll just start being. Before you know it, you won't even remember why anything seemed difficult. And it's the same way with every plane. Even extremely complex planes that have a ton of systems, Vipers and Hornets and Tomcats, it's all overwhelming when you're first doing it. Do it piece at a time, practice, get comfortable, because the more comfortable you get just flying, then the more information you'll retain when you're training. And that's why you don't try to train every system all at the same time. Piece it out, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Don't overwhelm yourself, and don't task saturate yourself. Because trust me, that's going to happen naturally. And you want to be able to work through it and get better. So you always want to take it easy, learn the systems as they come, and practice them, and keep getting more comfortable with that aircraft. And you're going to be an ace, and way better than I'll ever be in no time, I guarantee it. And thanks for flying with me tonight, pilots. Our next video is probably going to be on air-to-ground missiles, including rockets and Mavericks. And Mavericks are probably your best weapon you're going to have on the A model. It's your sniper. It's your ace in the hole of taking out any target that needs to be killed. Your Maverick is your best bet on that. And I will see you all in the next video.